Heaven and hell are certainly real, but they're real not as places, but as states of being or states of relationship. God makes room within God's self for the whole of created reality to dwell. Talk about heaven is trying to understand that engagement beyond the bounds of death and beyond the bounds of history. So it's a continuity of that engagement, but with a new intensity and new possibilities. We can only speak of this in terms of image and metaphor because this is something completely new.
And analogously, we would have the same thing with hell.
Well, God is humble enough to allow what God has created to resist the purpose and the love of God, and God bears that pain within God's self. So people are, in their life, in hell if they are resisting the love of God.
The question is there a state of being, call it what you will, that continues our conscious life in a heaven and a hell?
There is certainly a heaven in that there is a Christian's hope for an even closer engagement with the love and the life of God than they know in this life. The question is, do people remain in a state of isolation from God by their own choice? The Christian hope is that they will not. It's not a dogmatic certainty because God has given radical freedom to creation to be itself, but it is a hope that all created beings will be reconciled with God.
So are we assuming in this analysis that, number one, there is a conscious life after death, and number two, that that conscious life has an independent personality to it, and number three, that there are categorizations of that afterlife that would be to one degree or another closer to God or further from God?
First of all, the Christian view has not been that there is some kind of immortal soul which is completely separate from the body, which somehow floats out of the body and goes on existing on its own. The Christian hope has been for resurrection. That is, that God recreates the whole person, something like a body in which we have communication with others and in which we are related to the whole physical cosmos.
And in that resurrected body, there will be an independent personal intelligence, so I will remember that I am me.
Yes, with an individual identity remaining, but in a whole new sphere of relationships. And this is partly what the symbol of the resurrection of the body is saying.
So what will we do in the afterlife? If you and I are there, are we going to have the same conversation? I hope so. We'll know a little more.
If we are recreated as persons, persons are always on a journey. They are growing and developing in their relation with others and in relation to the whole world around them. And therefore we have to think in terms of growth, development, adventure. Heaven and hell are not equivalent ideas because heaven is about God's purpose for creation. Hell is what human beings do in resisting this purpose and love of God. And our hope is that no one will be left in that state.